Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Bahnken. I'm the president of the uniformed EMTs, paramedics, and inspectors of the New York City Fire Department, and I thank you for the opportunity to testify today. On December 26th, the blizzard hit New York City. This is not the first storm that hit this city, nor did it sneak up on us. In fact, a significant warning flare was sent up when the National Football League decided to cancel the Philadelphia Eagles football game at 12:30 that afternoon. The failure to recognize that a sizable storm was pounding the city of Philadelphia and moving north was perhaps the first but certainly not the last failure, and the results crippled the city for days. A failure to declare a citywide emergency ordering all non-essential vehicles off the road should have been declared. In my opinion, it was this specific decision that set the stage for all the problems that followed. In the early morning of December 27th, I began to receive information about surging call volume, large numbers of ambulances stuck in the snow on unplowed streets, and rising response times. All off-duty personnel were ordered to report, all vacations and past days were canceled, and all available personnel and spare vehicles were pressed into service. Aside from the impact of abandoned vehicles and unplowed streets, we were plagued with logistical problems that include some of the things that I have listed here. Spare vehicles. If a significant amount of snow is expected, all spare vehicles should be redeployed throughout the city rather than being concentrated at 58th Street and Maspeth. A detail should be required at least a day out to have all vehicles started, all fuel tanks topped off, all fluid and all stock sufficient, so that we are prepared to go. We should start deploying those vehicles out throughout the city. Also, mechanics should be recalled so that vehicles that can be repaired are done immediately. Instead, at the end of 8 hours, our mechanics were told to go home. But we had no reserve fleet left. Snow chains. Enough said. Public education. At least 12 hours prior to the impact of any storm, we should be making sure that we advise the public not only to keep their personal vehicles off the road, and by off the road, I don't mean parked at removed from curbside. They shouldn't be out driving. If you're not a cop, a firefighter, a paramedic, an EMT, or a plow driver, you have no business being out in the middle of a blizzard. This is not rocket science. Tow trucks. Well, before I get on to tow trucks, also public service announcement, we should be educating the public on when it's appropriate to call for an ambulance. We had people calling for ambulances because they're sick. We had people calling for ambulances because they hurt their finger. We actually had one call where a person called 911 because they had the hiccups. The hiccups, I can't make it up. Tow trucks. While clearing of city streets is important to clear abandoned vehicles so the plows can get through, a number of tow trucks should be assigned throughout each borough with an EMS supervisor with the specific task of pulling stuck ambulances out of the snow. We backlogged 1,300 calls. We had over 120 ambulances stuck in the snow. Well, no wonder you're backlogging calls. We had ambulances stuck for upwards of 20 hours. People are dying for an ambulance, and we can't get them out of a snowbank. Despite the belief that some people have said that EMS crews should be taught not to drive on snow-covered streets, we don't need to be taught that. The problem is that the only streets that were plowed were in Midtown Manhattan. If we were to park our vehicle on plowed streets and walk to the call, every vehicle would be located in Midtown, and my members would be walking to all the outer boroughs. We did not need to be told what to do. I gave you each a picture there, included with my testimony, of what my members were doing, taking spinal immobilization boards, tying them to the bottom of stretchers so that they could pull people numbers of blocks to get patients to hospitals. That specific case, my unit had a 300-pound patient who was an asthmatic. They had to carry her more than 2 blocks through the snow because the ambulance got stuck because the streets weren't plowed, there were no snow chains, they couldn't get them through. They didn't need to be taught how to do that. We don't need additional training. Mutual aid. Mutual aid from local 911 participating hospitals was minimal. But it's not their fault. Nobody tripped the switch and said, hey, we need help. It's just like the citywide recall. It didn't go out till 3 o'clock in the morning after everybody was already snowed in at home. How are you going to call people at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, listen, there's 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow outside. Come on in. We need you. You needed us when the Philadelphia Eagles football game was canceled at 12:30. That was a pretty good flare that, you know, we're a northeastern seaboard city. Philadelphia gets snowed in. The storm's moving north. What's north of Philadelphia? Hey, New York City. What an idea here. You know, I have a bunch of other stuff in here, but I want to make just a couple of points clear. First, yes, there were lives lost. And some of them were lost needlessly, and they shouldn't have happened. Not in the greatest city in this country. But I will tell you that countless more lives were saved because of my members and their efforts. They went well beyond. And anybody trying to point fingers at my members and question any of their actions, whether it was my personnel in communications or my members on the line, ought to be ashamed of themselves. I also heard earlier today the process by which decisions are made at the Office of Emergency Management. I listened today and I heard that there are 30 various leaders or representatives from various agencies all over the state. How does one lead by committee? In a crisis situation, somebody has to be on point with the authority to make decisions. I've said before that the Office of Emergency Management failed to manage the emergency. At 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, when OEM called the FDNY and said, hey, what do you think about declaring a snow emergency? And the fire department said, we support it. But the Department of Transportation overrode that. We're the group. We're the ones that respond and save lives, not bicycle lanes. We save lives. And when we say we can't get the job done, that the wheels are falling off the train, that's an indicator. Nothing else should trump that. Nothing. Instead, politics did. And when I listened before to how the decisions were made and all the different, committees that have to go through 8 layers of separation, I'm telling you this. When I get back to my office tomorrow, I'm going to go in, I'm going to purchase a magic 8-ball, and I'm going to send it over to OEM because you couldn't do worse with it. Instead of having 50,000 people decide all different things, we'll just ask the magic 8-ball. Should we declare a citywide emergency? And we'll shake it 3 times. That'll be the protocol. I'll include a protocol. And we can read it. And if it says not likely, hey, it's about as much thought as went into this storm. I'm sorry. I want to close with one other thing. A lot of stuff has been laid at John Perugia, the chief in charge of EMS. It's no secret to anybody here that he and I at times had been at loggerheads. We have not always been allies. There are many times we've been adversaries, vicious adversaries. But John Perugia was out there from the minute the first flakes fell, side by side with my rank and file members, taking a shovel and digging out ambulances, pulling ambulances out of snowbanks, responding to 911 calls to render aid. I don't know all the reasons behind why he should be the first head to roll, if at all. But I doubt there was any other 3-star chiefs from any agency out there digging vehicles out of snowbanks. That was unwarranted. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I'll turn it over to President Cassidy.
Thank you.